Hey, it's Eric again. In the last few videos that I've posted, I mentioned how fear can be a massive plateau creator. Is that a word? I guess it is now. We hold on to extra body fat, and actually, a lot of things in our life can be caused by fear, even fears at a subconscious level. I've shared a lot of times the story of hitting my plateau at 215 pounds because I finally uncovered this fear that if I dropped under 215 pounds, then I would lose everything because the time before then that I'd been under that weight, I had been homeless. And I wanted to teach a very, very simple technique on that can be used literally to obliterate any fear. It is so simple. It's called the fear to funny technique. I can still remember a nightmare that I had when I was 6 years old. What happened when I was six was I had this nightmare where I was the observer. Have you ever had a nightmare like that, where you're looking on to these events and because you're the observer, you're like powerless to do anything about it? Well, I was watching these events take place on the edge of this really large, really tall cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff there was the ocean, these jagged rocks, and these people were playing this game where they would walk backwards and see how far they could get to the edge of the cliff without falling off. Brilliant, right? And I remember watching them get closer and closer to the edge of this cliff, and I kept wanting to shout out like, "Stop! Don't get any closer. If you get any closer, you're going to fall off. You're going to die. Like something bad is going to happen." And it was crazy because this nightmare, the fear of this nightmare kept me awake for years. It like haunted me for years because a lot of times I would go to fall asleep. I'd lie in bed and I'd shut my eyes, and then suddenly the image of this cliff would come back to my mind, and I would suddenly feel that charge of that fear again. And it kept me awake for like 2 years until I finally did something really, really interesting. And it's something that I want to show you here. And so, the first step in obliterating any fear is to recognize what the fear is and to write it down. And so, in this case, let's say that the fear is something bad is going to happen. And so you would grab a piece of paper and you would write down, I'm going to try to angle this so you can see this here. Something bad is going to happen. And you gotta love my crazy, ridiculous handwriting, right? And you can see my dirty clothes. I just did my workout. I just came from the gym. It's like midnight right now, but I still wanted to post this. I wanted to show this to you. And so you write down whatever the fear is, and you try to sum it up in one or two sentences. Most fears can be summed up in that. You know, whether it's I'm going to fail, or if I do this, then this is going to happen, or whatever it is. Just sum up the name of the fear into a sentence. Write it down. From there, you want to draw some type of visual representation of the fear. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, just draw some type of visual representation, some type of image. And so if I were working on the fear of this nightmare, I would actually draw a picture of that cliff. And so I'm certainly no artist, but here it goes. So let's say that there's the ocean there, and then here's this cliff, right? And there's the jagged rocks down here. And people, like I mentioned in the dream, would walk backwards, and they would get closer and closer, and if they got close enough, of course, they would fall off and they'd fall to their death. And here's the ocean. And I know, masterpiece, right? But you get the idea. Again, you just want to draw some type of visual representation. I once did this with one of my mentoring clients, and he just felt like this black cloud around him. He couldn't really put a name to it. But when I had him draw this visual image, he just kind of drew this fuzz ball. And he's like, I said, when you see this, you can feel that charge? He said, yeah, it's just kind of like this dark cloud around me. And so again, just draw some type of visual representation of that fear. This works really great with kids too, kids that have nightmares. I use this with my 7-year-old daughter all the time, and it works great. From there, you want to modify the image to make it silly, goofy, funny, or just plain weird. And so what I did in my mind back when I was 8 years old, remember this image, this nightmare had haunted me for 2 years, was for some reason in my mind I gave this cliff this really goofy looking face. And I imagined that when people came close to the cliff, it would go, "How you doing? Hey, hi." And I thought, it's a friendly cliff. And so, again, in my mind, I have this great big nose, and people would come close, and he'd go, "Hi, how you doing?" And he had such a big nose that if somebody fell off, they would just go boing and go right back on the cliff. And I thought, it's a friendly cliff. And so you, again, modify the image to make it silly, goofy, or whatever it is. And then here's the important part. After you modify it, these are the words you want to say. "Oh, that's just," and then you fill in the blank with what the new image is. And then you say, "That can't harm me." And so in this case, I would say, "Oh, that's a friendly cliff. That can't harm me." Simply saying that phrase allows your brain to reassess the situation. If it can't harm you, then it has no reason to fear. The reason why is the definition of fear is the anticipation of discomfort. If your subconscious mind believes that something, some situation, some person, some change, some whatever is going to be uncomfortable or painful, that's what causes the fear. If your brain then understands that it can't cause you discomfort, it can't cause you harm, then that allows you to the fear to dissipate. And so again, you modify the image to make it silly, goofy, or just weird, and then you say, "Oh, that's just," fill in the blank with whatever it is. "That can't harm me." You then take the positive opposite of whatever the fear statement was, and you turn it into a loving affirmation. And so the positive opposite of something bad is going to happen could be something amazing is coming. And so you cross that out, and at the bottom, you put something amazing is coming. For me, maybe it'll be a handwriting lesson, something to improve my penmanship, right? And so one more time, these are the 4 steps. Number 1, you identify the fear and you write it down. Number 2, you make some type of visual representation of that fear. Now, you could just do this in your mind if you want to. A lot of times my clients come in to see me at the clinics, and I'll just have them do this in their mind. But if you can do it on paper, that's even better. It just takes it one level further. You create some type of visual representation of that fear. You then modify it to make it silly, goofy, or humorous, and you say, "Oh, that's just whatever it is. That can't harm me." And finally, you turn the fear around you find the positive opposite of that fear, and you turn it into a loving affirmation, and you say something amazing is coming, or whatever it is. I told you about that client that he said when he did this exercise, it kind of just looked like this dark cloud. And when he turned it around, he went, "Oh, that kind of looks like my hair in the morning." And so he drew a head on that. I hope you can see it. I hope I'm angling this correctly. And he goes, "Oh, that's just my hair in the morning. That can't harm me." And then he did his loving affirmation, and it totally obliterated that fear. Try this. Try this. And it doesn't have to be with weight reduction. It could be with business. It could be asking that special someone to be your Valentine. Valentine's Day is just a day or two away, depending on when you're watching this. It could be that this could make the difference between getting up the courage to ask that special someone out. I dare you to try this for Valentine's Day. Whatever it is, utilize this, and then I dare you to try to think of that fear. It'll be gone, I promise you. Try this, and then let me know in the comments below what you've done this with and what kind of difference it made for you. Make sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. If you're not already part of our Enjoy Yourself Then group on Facebook, make sure to join. It's totally free. There's lots of amazing support there. And as always, there's lots of content on a regular basis to help you in every area of your life. Love you.